Good morning again. We are speaking about epitherapy. So it's a therapy. If it's a therapy, we have to work with products that are well defined. If we have not such well-defined products, we cannot speak about therapy. For that, there are efforts all over the world to try to build an AP pharmacopoeia. AP from the bees, Apis mellifera. And pharmacopoeia means the descriptions, the monograph of each and every bee product to be used in our treatments.
Yes? You can shift to the French and Ali can translate for you.
From French?
Yeah.
I will try to make it, okay? Non, je ne l'ai pas, mais je peux parler. Bon. So, I'm going to speak in French. The presentation is in English, and Dr. Savoy will speak in Arabic. Okay. So, what? Sorry? What did he say? I don't know what he said. English? They want English?
عندكم اختيار في اللغة. العربي، الإنجليزي، الإسباني والفرنسي.
Okay.
إنجليزي عربي.
Okay, let it. Okay.
Shift again English.
Yes, it's difficult, tough. If we speak about a remedy.
هي طبعا صعبة أوي إنها تتكلم عن العلاج.
Speak of a medicine.
ولكن هي تتكلم على الطب الحاجة العلاجية.
In traditional medicine we speak more or less of a remedy.
الطبيعي كأنه هو علاج.
But if we want to have a pharmacopoeia,
إذا كان هناك دستور للأدوية,
we have to speak a microphone. Okay.
إن كانت نعم. What shall we do?
What?
خلاص اتكلمي English. You are
okay.
Talk.
I will speak in English. Okay, it's for everybody. Okay. Okay. So we come from traditional, from empirical remedy. Many people are trying to put this honey here. Just take a little drop of propolis or take some grains of pollen. But in order to define epitherapy as a real therapy, we have to have a medicine. So for that, we have to purify the product. And each and every product, when it has to be defined as a medicine, has to pass through some important steps, like purification, standardization of the product or of the main compounds. Then it has to be submitted to all the research and control steps to be defined as a medicine. And we have to have a clear and complete chemical analysis defining all the active compounds of the product. Then we have to define a certain technological flow if we want to prepare something. Then we have to make a toxicological analysis, which is very important, because sometimes our products can be contaminated. And contamination can come both with heavy metals. It can have also bacterial contamination, but it can also have something which comes from nature, like pyrrolizidine alkaloids, which are very toxic for our liver. So if I have a pollen, okay, it's, what happened? They want translation?
Give one sentence and repeat this sentence.
I think we'll take it 3 hours.
Okay.
Okay, I will finish this and...
Okay.
After all this, you can make a...
إذا تكرمتوا في اقتراح هي بتقوله عشان برضه هي تبقى مبسوطة لأنها هتمشي. هي هتتكلم كل البتاع وأنا هعيد الترجمة كلها ليكوا ويعني عشان ما ندخلش الاثنين كأن أنا بقول محاضرة بدلها. ممكن؟ Okay.
It will be available.
You give this lecture. You put here in the machine.
Okay, and then you
Okay,
translate
and then
it
translate
will be
after
different.
your
Okay.
stay.
Perfect. Okay, so we have to make preclinical studies, which means we have to use laboratory at microbiological level studies, or then animal studies, and finally, to define the product, we have to have the real clinical trials, which is a very difficult and rather rare thing that is happening. And I want to congratulate Mr. from Saudi Arabia, who wants to promote and support such clinical studies. There are so many rules for the medicines, but we always have to have a quantitative relationship between the product and its effect. And this should be always the same, because with a chemical drug, this is happening. What is very difficult is with the bee product. So we have to define a therapeutical dose. We cannot say 10 drops, take 1 teaspoon or something like this, because this is not a medicine. So we have to have and define the pure active substances, irrespective of their pharmaceutical form. So we need standardization. And we have tinctures, we have extracts, and here we have to define the notion of dose. How much of it? How much of the active ingredient do we use? Because for somebody, a child, we can give 1 or 2 drops of propolis tincture, 30%, let's say, but for an adult, in cancer treatment, we may have up to 200 or even more drops a day in certain intervals of time. So this is very, very important to define the dose. But this is the most difficult aspect that we have with the bee products. They are natural mixtures of active substances, like propolis coming from different parts of the world, like bee pollen coming from many, many flowers, because it's rather difficult if you are not practicing a systematic beekeeping to get a certain type of pollen. Only, let's say, rapeseed pollen, or let's say Silybum marianum pollen, or what else. Usually we have polyfloral pollen. And then we have the bee bread, which is also a mixture and which is made in the hives through the transformation of pollen. So it's never the same. And honey itself, from one year to another, the chemical analysis of honey shows different things, because there are different conditions, outside conditions. The flowers, we have drought, we have rains, we have so many things. And under the circumstances, we define, but we have a range of active substances. So it's difficult with the bee products. We cannot make them uniform, because, as I told you, there are different origins, but we have to try to concentrate the active principles so as to have a minimum amount up to. So the minimum amount of active substance should be that. Okay, we define 2, 6, 5 milligrams. But as I told you, it's difficult to the bee products through the chemical analysis or to define a chemical compound. Under the circumstances, as everybody before told about anti-cancer, antimicrobial, antiviral, antioxidant activity, so we can take at another aspect to try to quantify the biological action of the product. Because the same antibacterial action is offered both from the European or the African propolis in your area and the Brazilian propolis, but they are completely different in their composition. So this we have to have in view. And speaking about the biological action could be a better way to approach their activity. If we speak about anti-cancer, okay, the best for anti-cancer is Brazilian, said. But it's also because of some compounds, the European propolis or the temperate climate propolis. So it's a very tough work. So biological control. You see, we have many producers. Everybody wants to produce. We make propolis tablets, we make capsules, we make whatever. We make royal jelly lozenges, but we never reach the same result. Everyone is having its own procedure, everyone is preparing its own product, but if you try to look at the main composition, they will never be the same. And on the European market, we have found also situations in which the product did not contain at all any active ingredient. So we are lying ourselves. So it's very difficult to speak about such an expert. That's why we need this standardization. We can have, as I told you, variation from batch to batch. It's not the same if we have not the same propolis, because the other chemical substances, okay, they are reproducible and always the same. But if we have the natural product, we will always have a variation. So, we do not know the active compounds because there are different plants. The geographic origin is different. The species of bee produces, and Ahmed told me about trying to make the European bee with the African bee to make. Don't try to make another Africanized bee to be a killer bee, okay? So if we have such a variety, a diversity of actions, how can we speak about the same clinical effects? We cannot speak about the same clinical effects. So then somebody would say, you are lying, it's not good for me. That did not help me anyway. But if you have another product, it may help you. So this is the great problem with the bee product. Look about propolis. There are 4 types of propolis. It's a green Brazilian propolis. It's a brown propolis, which in the northern part of the United States and in Europe. It's a black and red propolis, which is also found in Brazil, South America, but also in the Antilles, in the Cuba or Caribbean islands. Here we have a book that defines a propolis, the poplar propolis. So we have to have a special type of propolis. And here it is defined by certain parameters that should always be respected. So we speak about a balsam, and the non-balsamic part of the propolis. This is quite in detail, and that it will be given. I will not enter the chemical details. Look what is happening in a pharmacopoeia, which, starting from the traditional medicine in China, accepted propolis before, and in 2015 added some new aspects related to propolis. In the definitions in 2010, they spoke about propolis as a dried resin of Apis mellifera, yes? The new edition in 2015 speaks about a sticky solid glue mixture of resin of nectar from plants discharged from the infracapitular gland and wax gland of Apis mellifera, because propolis always contains beeswax in it, and also wax from plants. Also in 2010, one of the main quality parameter was a flavonoid with what chrysine. But 2015 edition speaks about at least 2% chrysine, at least 1% caffeic acid phenethyl or CAPE, everybody knows CAPE for its anti-cancer activity, and no less than 0.5% pinosembrin. Okay, but the new speaks about the contamination, so about the limits for heavy metals. For lead, for instance, it's no more or less than 10 milligram. Okay, so we have new and improved data related to the propolis. We have here some products that can be prepared, and we have lotions and sprays, we have syrups, solutions, tablets, capsules, ointments, creams. For all this, there are various extraction methods applied. So when we have a monograph about a product, we have to define precisely what was the extraction method for the active compounds. So, because the solvent that it's used for extraction will be the final use of the extract. It can be for dermatological, cosmetic use, but it can be also for internal use because some solvents are toxical in internal use. So, the most active are known as propylene glycol and ethanol. Very few ingredients are also soluble in water, but the amount is quite low, and we try to find procedures that make it possible to extract such active compounds and to have a water-based product. Because these are the most important that give fungal, fungicidal effects and wound healing properties. There are also acetone extracts, but this is mainly for shampoos and lotions, which is normal. We will never drink acetone. Here is the way how propolis is dissolved into water, unable to dissolve, but if we make a certain procedure, we will have such in Romania, we had done a procedure to make it possible to be diluted in water. We have here several raw propolis. You see all the stages with the raw propolis comes, the pure, then it comes to powder, and then the soft propolis extract that is introduced in several formulations. You have there on the right side what are the main parameters to be taken into account when we speak about propolis. The simplest one is ethanol extracted propolis. So we keep propolis into alcohol for several days with occasional stirring. Usually we recommend that it should not be done only for 3 or 1 days or 1 week. It should stay at least, according to the Japanese studies, 3 months. Why? Because the potential allergenic compounds coming from the bee can be eliminated, especially those of proteic origin. So the better the maturation, extraction, the better the product. There are also other methods like the quick extraction, which is microwave-assisted and ultrasound extraction, which also offers very good results, and the results are offered by the graph showing the HPLC analysis. It's a better extraction. The study has been published in 2015 by Pelati, Trushev, Hamza, and co. Other extractions, so it's extraction in propylene glycol, water extracted, oil extracted propolis, and there are some products here. These are products prepared with propylene glycol, with water, and oil extracted, each and every product. The propolis paste and the dry propolis extract and the powder and the propolis powder, which does not attract water, which is non-hygroscopic. The new technologies has advanced a lot, so now we have supercritical carbon dioxide extraction or other fluid extractions, which offers better results, but we can also produce products using the liposome or nanoparticles to carry the propolis into the targeted organ or systems, or even in cancer tumors. And there are some timid, I would say, trials to prove this. Tinctures, an official one is 25% in 70% ethanol, but 70% ethanol is a pharmaceutical ethanol. So when we try to check the antimicrobial activity, we will have for sure the antimicrobial activity of ethanol, alcohol, and we do not know if it's propolis or not. If it's 95% alcohol, then we will see the activity of propolis and not the activity of the pharmaceutical alcohol, okay? Usually for the producers, it's 20 days in dark bottles with occasional stirrings. Then we make filtrations, dilutions in sprays or lighter tinctures or syrups. Then we have the soft propolis extract that can mix easily into honey. This is produced with roto evaporator to eliminate excessive ethanol from the product. So we make a soft paste which can be mixed with honey or other products. This can be used also in ointments, in creams. The pollen extract is also prepared with various types of alcohols. And here, the higher the concentration of alcohol, the higher the concentration of active compounds that are separated. The solvents that have a lower concentration of ethanol can dissolve mostly tannins, acids, and carbohydrates, which is not in our interest, because we want the active compounds like carotenoids in the fat parties, in fat-soluble vitamins, and even the flavonoids. So we can play with the alcohol concentration to obtain several fractions of pollen. Tomorrow I will speak about presentation of my colleagues in France, in Romania. We have a big factory and company preparing bee products and also medicinal plants factories, about a procedure to get a better digestibility and availability of bee pollen when fermented into natural products. So tomorrow I will speak about few words about this thing, about Amrita, licensed product in Romania, and also some other methods that they use to produce it. So here we have a propylene glycol extract, an oil extraction that have been reported to be inefficient. In diethylene glycol monomethyl ether, which discolors pollen, we will have it as a desired cream, which is white and beautiful for the ladies to use it in cosmetics, because usually ladies do not want colored creams. They want only white, bright creams, okay? We are very demanding. The alcohol that we use for preparing extract should be food-grade alcohol, not technical alcohol, but only that which is used in food industry. Also for bee bread or pollen, you can make 4 parts, 95% alcohol, and 1 part of pollen or bee bread, and you get an extract. Bee bread, it's considered to have a higher nutritional value just because the exine, the external wall of pollen, has been broken, and all the active and nutritional compounds are there. The extraction is at about 8 days with occasional stirring, then filtering, and we store it in a dark glass bottle. In this way, it can be stored a long time. Like propolis. Propolis is never out of discussion, but we are forced to write 2 years availability. We have royal jelly. Everybody have heard about royal jelly. And I can tell you that the Japanese pharmacopoeia speaks about royal jelly. And here we have exactly the monograph in the Japanese pharmacopoeia speaking about apilac, defining it with description, the identification of the main compound, which is 10-hydroxy-2-decyanoic acid, or 10-HDA. It has to contain no less than 4% and no more than 8% of this active compound. Usually, if you go to China, they will say, we succeeded to make this 10-HDA, and we can add to your royal jelly how much you want. This is an adulteration. So be sure that you will never use such fake and adulterated products. Look what is the Japanese saying, how we identified through thin-layer chromatography. For purity, we checked for lead and arsenic. Then we have, according to the pharmacopoeia, the loss on drying, the total ash contents, the insoluble ash, and the assay for 10-HDA is done by high-performance liquid chromatography coupled with mass spectrometry. There is, luckily, an international standard for royal jelly, but it's only related to the production and not for the finished products, which is obtained after many, many fights with an international team. It's in 2016.